From the Daily Mail, special prosecutor slams Hunter Biden's bid to dismiss his indictment after Dad Joe's pardon. This is wild because what the DOJ is basically saying is we've seen no pardon. We've heard media reports there's a pardon, but until we get the actual filing, you can't dismiss these charges. Now, some are saying this is just, it's going through the motions. It's making it look like there's a battle. But what I will add to this, which I find very fascinating, is how this backfires. I think the Democrats, Joe Biden, understands there will be some blowback from this in some ways, but they have no choice. They lost the election. Hunter's in trouble. The Burisma scandal stuff is going to come out with Kash Patel coming in. And so the issue now for Joe is that he basically just said the DOJ is corrupt, targeting my son for political reasons. And my response to that is, wow, Joe, I can't believe the DOJ is corrupt and engaging in this political lawfare. Trump has been saying something similar. I guess this proves it.
I guess this proves it. I really do. And this is something that I think is going to give Donald Trump a lot of ammunition. It now is the former outgoing president, who is a hardcore Democrat, who's been one of the most liberal presidents we've ever had, is now saying that the DOJ is corrupt to its core, which is something, a talking point all of MAGA has been saying for the last 8 years. And I think this has given us a lot of ammunition to now be able to say, hey, we need to burn this institution to the ground and rebuild something that values the Constitution and the rule of law.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning this is the Merrick Garland Department of Justice. This isn't any Trump loyalist really bringing these charges up.
It's Merrick Garland, the lapdog of Joe Biden.
And remember, they didn't just lose the election. They have lost their blue wall of bureaucracy in D.C. The number of lawyers within the Department of Justice that are writing their resignation letters this second, right now, is astronomical. I think that once we get somebody in that Department of Justice that actually is going to enforce the rule of law and go after the lawfare that has been going after Donald Trump for so long, they're going to have an enormous amount of applications that pour into that agency, because there's an article right now, I saw it in Politico, that DC residents are concerned about their property values going down because of the sheer amount of bureaucrats and government workers that are going to be fired and leaving Washington, D.C. It is going to be that effective.
There should be a fire sale on beautiful houses in Langley, in all the surrounding areas. Because
I'm stacking up cash. I'm ready to move.
There are some absolutely beautiful properties, and there should be, never mind what they're actually going to cut and get rid of, but the idea of getting departments out of Washington is a great idea as well. Yes. Get them out into different parts of the country, get them away from D.C. so that way you do not have a unified political opinion. 96% of the people in D.C. voted for Kamala Harris, for someone that is absolutely unqualified, and they did it only because they're ideologically aligned. So that right there is a massive problem. The entire bureaucracy needs to be cut up, even if you're not actually able to do the kind of significant, cabinet level cuts that I would personally like to see. Move them. Get them out of there. Get them out of D.C. Get them out. There's a whole big country out there. You can send them all over the place. Denver's gorgeous. You can send them all over.
And not only can you send them all over the country, you can send them to places where it makes sense, where the staffing is people that understand it. Why would the Department of Agriculture not be in Kansas, in the center of all of these cornfields?
Iowa's great.
Iowa's phenomenal. Where people who they've said, I just sold my farm, my children are taking over. Let's now have someone who's been a farmer for 70 years. I know a bajillion farmers down. We got Whitworth Farms. You've got Alfie Oaks down in Florida. Go ahead and send it down there in the Sunshine State. These people will be taking care of all of the agricultural stuff.
Send BLM to Reno.
It's also worth noting that when you pointed out like 90% of DC voted for Kamala, we have had generation after generation of Republican staffers and congressmen go and live and vote in Washington, D.C. And the way that town is structured is that you have to kiss up to the lobbyists and the special interests while you are either elected to Capitol Hill or working on Capitol Hill as a staffer, or else your career goes nowhere. If you don't actually build out your relationships with K Street, then you're not not going to advance to these cushy jobs. And so we put Republicans in office who sit there long enough and realize they can get very comfortable showing up to all the swanky dinners and just capitulating to the special interests. Then they get their $500,000 a year position at K Street in these lobbying firms, and they slowly become a Democrat. Very few people go up there to change that town. And you know this better than anybody else, that if you go up there and start trying to actually change the city systematically, then you are going to be basically just humiliated as much as possible. You're going to be vilified. You're going to be lied about, all of these different things.
Look at Trump in his first term.
Yeah.
He wasn't even doing anything that ridiculous. I mean, when you look at the people he chose for his cabinet the first time around, a lot of people groaned. A lot of populists and a lot of libertarians were like, Bolton is a great example. And they still tried to destroy him and accuse him of being a traitor to this country, working for Russia and, dare I say it on MSNBC, the Soviet Union, which doesn't exist, but these people are never accused of being smart.
And well, if I'll just jump in, the reason why people hated Donald Trump in Washington so much is because he messed up people's long-term career plans. And I'm sure everyone at the table understands this. But in Washington, D.C., you got to think people's career spans are only about 20 years. So normally you're going to work on Capitol Hill for about 10 years, might become a deputy chief of staff, maybe a chief of staff. But then you're going to go spend 2 years a stint on K Street, and you're going to understand what some lobbying company wants you to do. And then you're going to say, because I care so much about this country, I'm going to go back into the government. But really, you are secretly working for K Street still. You will then come in as a chief of staff. You will direct, because the majority of congressmen literally just are handed their vote cards. They have no idea what they're voting on. They're going to go there, and so all your chief of staff is running it. I mean, literally, your staff is policy. And so then you're going to go push the interest of whatever lobbying group you worked for last time. So then when you leave in 6 years, for the last 3 years of your career on Capitol Hill, you will then be a senior partner of one of these K Street firms, and you will make $400,000 to $500,000 a year, and that is people's entire retirement plan. So when Donald Trump came in and wanted to import a lot of the low-level staffers, it messed up a lot of people's opportunities to go and make these opportunities for these K Street lobbying firms, and that is why people hate him so much inside the city.
That's the big problem is the bureaucracy and the fact that the politicians are actually removed from the people that from the people that can actually have repercussions on them. So the people that are making the decisions and the people that are actually making policy and stuff like that, it's people that can't be fired or that can't be booted by the electorate. It's people that are bureaucrats and stuff. So if the people are unhappy with the politician may not get elected. But the people that are working on K Street, like you said, the lobbyists, they're all the same people, and they're going to find another person to work for. And it doesn't matter if it was this guy or that guy, they're going to be doing the exact same job. And that's why people can elect new politicians, but the essentially the same things that were happening before continue to go on. The policy actually doesn't change, and it's necessary to make the kind of cuts that Donald Trump is talking about. And I love the fact that Donald Trump is talking about this, but I don't care if it's Donald Trump. I'm a very libertarian kind of guy. So if it was a libertarian that got in there, if Rand Paul was the guy doing it, I'd be backing Rand Paul or Mike Lee or anyone with that kind of interest to actually make real cuts to the government, to make real changes, to put the power back into the hands of the electorate, back into the hands of the people. Because right now, it's all in a bureaucracy.
Rand Paul helps you out a lot.
Rand Paul did help me out.
It's why I love the House way more than the Senate, because you stay up there for 6 years, you solidify incumbency, and the American people have a very short memory.
They do indeed. But Rand Paul is a phenomenal guy. I love him. But I do got to give a big shout out to Donald Trump going for the Libertarians. Going to when he went to the Libertarian Conference, I thought that was a masterful move.
He went and asked.
Yeah, he went and asked. It was a very humble thing to do, and I really appreciate it. And also, he parroted some Vivek Ramaswamy talking points, because for so long we've all said, well, this is the largest union in the country. We can't fire bureaucrats, so what can we do? But Vivek had a very great point. The only way to do it is to do mass layoffs of the federal government for fiscal reasons, and then you can get rid of 80 to 90% of these people who legitimately don't matter. And people who are concerned about that happening happening. Like, well, what's going to happen? Think about whenever the government shuts down, does your life actually change? Aside from being able to go on the Blue Ridge Parkway and speed because there's no park rangers. Really, what is
Rangers are parked rangers.
Wow, you know what? I support Florida Highway Patrol more than anything you could ever imagine. I back them in a way.
Yeah, the government shutdowns are bad for I think servicemen and women get their paychecks delayed or
Which
something
is
like
sad.
that. Yeah, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the other component, which you never see or deal with, is just, what do you care?
Yeah, the 9,000 freaking analysts that work at every single agency, those are the people that have stepped. I mean, when we look at a bunch of Trump's cabinet picks, none of the frontline guys, let's look at the FBI.
Well, I do have some concerns. I don't want to interrupt you, though.
No, go, Tim. This is your show, brother.
Well, my concern is that if Elon and Vivek do get in there and they start gutting a lot of these programs, how are we going to know what happens when you give hamsters cocaine and put them in a fighting ring?
Yeah, I mean,
I will personally fund it. I don't just want a percentage of my taxes.
I didn't want to interrupt you.
I want all my taxes.
We're going to Colombia and we're going to find out. This is going to happen.
No, but this is actually was one of the studies. They were like, why are we making hamsters do drugs and fight each other? I mean, there's probably some like, well, we're wondering what happens to mammals, but it's like, come on.
if they were teenagers doing that, it would be fine, but it's the government doing it.
Okay, look, if they live streamed it, it'd be fine too, but they do it in private. Like, they don't give us any return on our
If
money.
it's my tax money,
come
I
on.
want to be sitting
My
front
tax
row.
dollars.
I want Dana White announcing it, and I want to hear which hamster is going in.
Now, there have been some people pointed out that some of these studies do sound weird, but are for a reason. Like, they might give a certain drug to an animal to see if it increases aggression or decreases because they don't want to test on humans. But my point is largely, so much of our money is going to things that, let's just call it triage. Fine, I get it. You want to take a look at what happens when a certain drug impacts an animal because you want to see if there's a relation to how humans may behave or something like that. I got an idea. First, we stopped sending all of our money overseas to these foreign countries for
Gender studies
wars.
in Egypt, I feel like, is a really important.
Pakistan was a big one. It was like $11 million. How about we fix our roads, fix our bridges? I got to tell you, if we're sending another $725 million to Ukraine, how about this? You just say, okay, same thing, but it's here, and we're gonna, I don't know, like build some roads.
I'm pretty sure that Ukraine is now located. If my geography is bad, but I think it's Western North Carolina that was just rocked by a massive hurricane. I think they could use some roads there. And the fact that we literally have the 35th Engineering Group, based in North Carolina, who can create a bridge for the military to cross in like about 30 seconds with some of their machines, yet we could not get a bridge to get people out and get to their homes in Western North Carolina, is insane to me.
Legitimately made me angry that, and we were talking about it a little bit before the show, the government comes in and says it will take 2 to 3 months for us to fix this road, and a bunch of grizzled vets from the mountains come down and do it in 48 hours.
And Phil, you're going to love this because I used to actually be, I always am pretty libertarian leaning on a lot of my beliefs that, most things should be legalized. You should allow the people to just figure out what they want. But there was the talking point that I used to back a lot saying, well, who's going to build the roads? I got my buddy Ellis Pace. I got a significant amount of friends in Western North Carolina, and I watched a bunch of backcountry wise hillbillies literally building roads in record-breaking time, and roads that it's like Roman roads. They're going to exist for all time.
Yep.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.